every Sunday from 2 to 3 p.m. on Afro Vibes.
Because this is the hottest show right now.
We give you a musical cocktail from North Africa, Central Africa, West, South and East of Africa.
We are live and we are loud.
Where about it today? I want to show them my attitude today.
Your Sunday will never be the same again with
DJ D and
DJ Leo
on Afro Vibes.
Your musical passport to Africa.
Allow me to enjoy myself. Allow me to enjoy myself. Allow me to enjoy myself.
Acha nirudi. Ndachukua wokovu, niweke wokovu yangu chini na utajua ujui. Wewe ni mwisi.
Nini mzee?
Mimi ni kijana.
Ngoja uulize maswali.
Sasa wao kijiita kijana sisi tutakiita nini? Mimi ni bibi ongeki. Si ndio hiyo sasa ananifananisha na mwanamke na mimi si mwanamke.
Tatani yatindwe.
Ketuta. Sema ukweli iko tufuatilie. Enga mama.
Ngoja, sikiza.
Usi mzee, usi mama ni mheshimiwa.
Enga mwambie sichukue sheria kwa mikono zake.
Ala.
Sichukue sheria kwa mikono zake.
Good evening, welcome to Prime Edition. I am Cynthia Nyamai. Now, I've just come back from Arusha, the EAC headquarters, where we have an exclusive interview with the Secretary General. And also in Tax 101, we will tell you a little bit about tax in the East African region. And in sports, Munga has all the action for you coming up shortly after the highlights.
The security of the Deputy President is not a matter to joke around with.
Change of guards. Uproar in DP Ruto's camp as his elite GSU security is replaced with administration police.
Ile kitu iko, kuna watu walikuwa juu ya hiyo mnara, hiyo crane, walikuwa watu 10, walikuwa na bomoa, walikuwa wameanza kuendelea vizuri, lakini kibahati mbaya ile ripoti inasemekana crane ikaanguka.
A tower crane snaps from 70 meters, killing 9 people at a construction site in Nairobi's Hurlingham area.
There are many contradictions in both the High Court and the Court of Appeal rulings that will create confusion and legal chaos if not settled with finality.
Not yet over. BBI Secretariat to move on to the Supreme Court to challenge last week's Court of Appeal decision. Now we start with some sad news where 9 people, including 2 Chinese nationals, were killed on Thursday after a tower crane crumbled at a construction site in Nairobi's Kilimani area. One of the victims survived with serious injuries and is admitted to hospital.
The tragedy struck at around 12:30 p.m. at a construction site of a 14-story students' hostel in Nairobi's Kilimani area. A statement from the Chinese company undertaking the construction, Zhejiang Shengjian Construction Africa, the crane came crashing down as the technicians were decommissioning it. 7 Kenyans and 2 Chinese nationals died on the spot, while 1 person is recuperating in hospital.
Ile kitu iko, kuna watu walikuwa juu ya hiyo mnara, hiyo crane, walikuwa watu 10, walikuwa na bomoa, walikuwa wameanza kuendelea vizuri, lakini kibahati mbaya ile ripoti inasemekana crane ikaanguka. Sasa hiyo lazima tuanze kufanya uchunguzi ndio tujue kwa kina nini ilifanyika.
Kuna group wanakuanga kazi yao ni kufunga hii tower crane na kutoanisha wakati imemaliza kazi. Sasa leo hao watu wa tower crane ndio walikuwa wanatoa hiyo crane juu, jumba imeisha, sasa imebaki finishing, hakuna kazi ya kulift na hiyo crane. So hiyo harakati ya kufungua siwezi sema ni nini li happen. Tukasikia wenye walikuwa juu wote hiyo group ya kutoa hiyo crane wamekuja chini.
My brother is an operator. She's called David Okeke. While I am working on Kariako now, I'm getting a phone call. Most of the people have died, but I have not get the information if my brother David Okuku is dead. Even me, I'm the one of the construction member. I'm a carpenter.
The construction company says it had contacted the families of victims affected, even as further investigations into the incident begin. The bodies were taken to Chiromo Mortuary. Nancy Okware, Prime Edition.
The Building Bridges Initiative Secretariat has announced its plans to challenge last week's decision by the Court of Appeal quashing the BBI bill. Through its co-chair, former Dagoretti South MP Dennis Waweru and Suna East MP Unet Mohammed, the Secretariat said it will support the anticipated BBI appeal by the Office of the Attorney General, while poking holes on the verdict of both the High Court and the Court of Appeal. The leaders vowed to stop at nothing in securing the BBI promise.
The judgment of the High Court.
It is this pronouncement by the David Masiga-led 7-judge bench of the Court of Appeal upholding the illegality of the Building Bridges Initiative constitutional review process that seemed to have halted what was expected to not only herald a new Kenya, but chart the way forward in the 2022 political landscape.
You need to come.
Days after the judgment, some proponents of the initiative maintain that the BBI light will not be dimmed just yet. While poking holes on the verdicts of both the High Court and the Court of Appeal, the co-chairs of the BBI Secretariat, former Dagoretti South Member of Parliament Dennis Waweru and Suna East Member of Parliament Unet Mohammed, announced plans to support Attorney General Paul Kihara Kariuki in his quest to challenge the judgment at the Supreme Court.
We believe that the 2 lower courts failed to appreciate the delicate balance needed in resolving an issue like the one before us.
There are many contradictions in both the High Court and the Court of Appeal rulings that will create confusion and legal chaos if not settled with finality. The Attorney General will detail this in his appeal.
The promoters of the BBI bill, however, hailed some pronouncements by the Court of Appeal, which they say demonstrated progress on the issues raised by the High Court.
the affirmation of legality of BBI Task Force and BBI Steering Committee. Number 2, affirmation that the President has powers to establish ad hoc committee and bodies.
They have, however, given an assurance that they will not relent in their quest to secure the BBI promise.
If the lessons of the past are to be our guide, the BBI too will come to be realized if we fight hard enough, and we are determined to fight hard enough.
The AJ is yet to officially file his appeal to challenge the appellate court's verdict. Meanwhile, Deputy President William Ruto has said that he is not to blame for the collapse of the Building Bridges initiative. The Deputy President says the process did not take into account the opinions of the majority of Kenyans, including himself.
Niliwaambia kule Bomas, hii BBI iko na shida. Yale mambo yako ndani ya hapa BBI haipeleki Kenya mbele, inarudisha Kenya nyuma. Na yale yote niliwaambia ndio mahakama imewaambia. Na ndio hiyo BBI imekwama. Sasa mimi najiuliza, kwani nilifanya makosa kusema ukweli?
For Prime Edition, I'm Safin Acheng Oma.
Now, from politics to scales of justice, where 6 police officers allegedly involved in the murder of 2 brothers from Njokoma, Embu County, have filed a petition seeking to have their prosecution turned into an inquest. Through their legal counsel, Danston Omari, the officers also want the bodies of the 2 brothers exhumed for an autopsy before an independent pathologist.
Into the death of the 2 KIANJOKOMA brothers from Embu County continues with the 6 police officers being held in custody, now seeking an inquest into the matter.
This person who has written a statement believes that after jumping, the guys went alive and escaped. The other person who was seated opposite the 2 boys also has recorded a statement of what he saw and the noise he heard out of the banging of as they banged on the tarmac. These statements were ignored.
Through their lawyer Danston Omari, the 6 police officers are seeking to have the bodies of the 2 brothers exhumed for an independent autopsy. They're also seeking the conservatory orders are issued restraining IPOA, the DPP and the Inspector General of Police from commencing any criminal proceedings relating to the death of the brothers.
The officers went back because the vehicle was driving at a very high speed. They went back on the same road that they used and found 2 bodies of the deceased on the road.
The 6 who are being held for 14 days since August the 16th have been subjected to mental analysis to determine whether they are fit to stand trial. Meanwhile, the hearing of a 233 million shillings graft case against Garissa Governor Ali Korani and 4 others will continue from the 15th to 18th of November. Appearing before Magistrate Elizabeth Juma, the prosecution told the court that there are 45 witnesses who are expected to testify, with 1 having already taken to the stand. For Prime Edition, I'm Serafina Robi.
Thank you, Sarfina, for that report. Now to health matters, where Kenya has recorded another 817 COVID-19 positive cases out of 6,350 samples screened in the last 24 hours. The new figures represent a positivity rate of 12.9%. In the latest data released by the Ministry of Health, 35 more deaths have been recorded, all of them from late audits conducted in the months of July and August 2021. This places the total number of fatalities in the country at 4,635. Globally, over 214 million cases have been reported, with the number of fatalities standing at slightly over 4.4 million. This is according to the data from Johns Hopkins University. Now, moving on, the state has withdrawn the General Service Unit officers attached to Deputy President William Ruto's residence, replacing them with administration police officers. Whereas the office of the Deputy President has formally written to the Inspector General of Police seeking an official explanation on the matter, a statement from the IG termed the changes as a normal reassignment.
This was early Thursday afternoon at Deputy President William Ruto's official residence in Karen. A statement from his office said the DP was informed by the security officer in charge of the General Service Unit at his Karen residence that he had received verbal instructions to withdraw all the GSU officers from all his residences effective 2 p.m. today. The statement by his communication secretary termed the move unlawful and contrary to Section 5E of the Police Service Standing Orders, which states that the GSU commandant shall be responsible for the security of the President, the Deputy President, state houses and lodges. While citing 5 other incidents that they termed as a breach on the DP security, his office demanded an explanation from the Inspector General of Police on the matter. But in a rejoinder, the Inspector General of Police termed the changes as normal reassignment, saying, and I quote, "The National Police Service through its various units is mandated to provide security to government buildings and critical infrastructure, including security to VVIPs and their residences." The IG cited Section 17 of the National Police Service Standing Orders, which states that the GSU commandment shall be responsible for providing security to the President, the First Family, retired President, and Deputy President, among others. A section of leaders and ordinary citizens, however, read politics in the move.
The security of the Deputy President is not a matter to joke around with, and tell the world that Kenyans and the world must be careful.
Hatua tutachukua kando na sheria. Tutafuata sheria na tutafuata hiyo sheria ya Uhuru Kenyatta. Kwa upande yake kuna uwezo ya kutoa, lakini tutafuata sheria ile inafaa.
They have called for dialogue between President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto.
Ni kwa nini nyinyi mkiwa huko juu mnapigana? What example are you showing the Republic? Kenyans. Kenyans are peace-abiding citizens. We don't want leaders to divert from their responsibilities of building the nation.
Caroline Kamar reporting for Prime Edition.
Well, Parliament is shortly going to open up its own TV and radio station running 24 hours. It's called Bunge TV. I will be telling you more about it after the break.
But we have learned a lot during our stay here. More than that, I think the cementation of the friendship between the two countries is obvious. My colleagues, my wife and I go back home carrying very happy memories of our visits to Kenya, and we just would like to thank Mzee Kenyatta and his ministers and the mayor of Nairobi and all the people of Kenya for this wonderful time. The cementation of friendship between the two countries obviously means plenty of important discussions behind doors.
One year ago, President Uhuru Kenyatta consolidated the operations of 3 key entities: the Kenya Ports Authority, the Kenya Pipeline Company, and the Kenya Railways Corporation. These 3 entities, they have a combined total asset of about 1.4 trillion Kenya shillings. 12 months down the line, has the sailing been smooth for KTLN?
These things are not easy to melt. These are institutions with histories. 1, 2, going back as more than 100 years. These are not institutions that can easily. So there is it is hard work. It's enjoyable work because you can see the end game. Getting there is not easy, but we will.
This week on Inside Government, we track the performance of KTLN in trying to smoothen out the operations of these three entities. We talk to the chair of ICDC, John Gumi, on the progress of making Kenya a logistic and transport hub in the region.
Wanariadha wa Kenya walidhihirisha kuwa wafalme na malkia wa mbio za uwanjani.
Ilikuwa Olimpiki yangu ya kwanza na ilikuwa na pressure mingi, but nimemanage, nimepata medali.
Nimefurahia sababu it's a great opportunity kupata silver. For me, I'm so happy.
Pia walionyesha umahiri wao kuwa mibabe ulimwenguni.
Nashukuru Mwenyezi Mungu tumefika hapa na the goal.
It's a plus, great achievement to myself, my country.
Kwa haya na mengine, tazama runinga ya KBC Channel 1 Ijumaa hii kuanzia saa 2:30 jioni.
My name is Dorothy Lowapto and I'm a wildlife warrior.
Working for elephants is the most special thing and very beautiful.
This is the first community-run elephant orphanage in Africa.
They will not make in life if they are not with their families. We get them and rehabilitate them instead of leaving them to suffer in the wild.
This is Wildlife Warriors, and I'm Paula Kahumbu.
Welcome back, and now to business, where the government has increased cash transfer program to more than 1 million people who are at risk of starvation. Agriculture Principal Secretary Hamadi Boga has said apart from cash transfers, the government together with the county governments are disbursing hay to pastoralists in 10 drought-prone counties. Then the county is also going to go for the counties that is going to go through a dry season occasioned by inadequate rainfall.
The drought situation in the country has been worsening in the arid and semi-arid counties, mainly due to poor October, November, December 2020 short rains and the March, April, May 2021 long rains. Early this month, the government issued a drought alert in Kilifi, Garissa, Isiolo, Mandera, Samburu, Tana River, Wajir, Lamu, Marsabit and Turkana counties. Kenya's drought response plan currently requires 9.4 billion shillings for the July-November period, 5.8 billion shillings for food and safety net support, and 3.6 billion shillings for non-food interventions.
We are monitoring the weather situation while taking measures to make sure that those who are affected by the dry condition, I wouldn't call it a drought, taken care of. The biggest challenge, of course, is hay for the livestock and also water for the livestock.
The Ministry of Agriculture has allayed fears of starvation, saying there is sufficient food in the country's food reserves.
In the NCPB stores, there is maize. In the farmer stores, there is maize and other commodities. In the people who are traders, they have maize, and in the field there is maize. And although there was a poor beginning of the season, but there was a recovery also up to 80% in most of the areas. So as far as we are concerned, there is no crisis.
But in terms of our storage facilities, I can say in a nutshell that the wheat which we are receiving right now, we have received in the excess of 1,000 bags. We are just starting off, and our target is to do approximately 300,000 bags. So I can say we are just starting off the process.
The National Cereals and Produce Board says it has the capacity to store any type of grain ready for distribution. According to a consolidated regional June 2021 report by the East African Community titled Food Security Status Report, food security in the region had remained stable in the past 1.5 years despite challenges of volatile food prices, desert locust impacts and the COVID-19 pandemic. These events come even as the market remains jittery over food security and safety fears after some food products were banned by the Kenya Bureau of Standards on safety grounds.
We have heightened the market surveillance on products that we have identified as risky products. When we do market surveillance, we are doing market surveillance to ensure that manufacturers meet the minimum requirement as set out in the standards.
The government says that the anticipatory measures that were put in place to safeguard against the risk of drought is still in place and that there is no need for alarm. Alan Oko, Prime Edition.
Thank you, Alan, for that report. Now, the Kenya Agricultural and Livestock Research Organization, KALRO, is banking on a high-quality potato seed production and distribution deal with Syngenta Foundation to increase production 5 times to 10 million tons annually. The deal involves increasing high-quality certified potato seed availability to farmers by 25% through rapid multiplication, increased field seed bulking, and capacity building of commercial seed growers. As Benson Rioba narrates, the key target is to increase local potato sales at high-end chain restaurants in Kenya.
Most international fast food franchises in Kenya have been importing potatoes from, among others, Egypt, as potatoes in the country do not meet their standards. However, KALRO is seeking to help local farmers producing high-end potatoes access the local markets through capacitating seed companies to breed and distribute high-quality potato tubers.
Farmers to start planting certified seed that is clean. Use clean seed to stop multiplying pathogens or diseases in their fields and also pests like nematodes.
This is through a deal with Syngenta Foundation seeking to distribute 240,000 high-yielding potato tubers to small-scale farmers in potato-growing areas with a target of growing production from the current 2 million tons to 10 million tons.
Potato is a big crop for us here in Kenya, but it doesn't get the attention that it requires because farmers are still lacking access of seed to plant and produce to feed themselves and of course also to make ourselves food secure.
According to the breeders, the hybrid variety has a potential to produce up to 180 50 kg bags of potatoes per acre as compared to the traditional variety that produces an average of 40 bags.
Apply fertilizer appropriately, you do disease prevention and pests appropriately, then you are able to get at least 130 to 150 bags per acre.
The initiative also targets to increase the potato consumption due to its high nutritional value.
Now, the East African Community Secretariat is calling on member states to ratify and implement the regional COVID-19 tourism recovery plan to help the bloc weather the impact of COVID-19 disruptions. EAC Secretary General Dr. Peter Mathuki says the plan is key in driving the recovery of the bloc's tourism industry. Earlier, I had a chat with Dr. Mathuki on what the EAC Secretariat is doing to deepen integration and promote trade, and filed the following report.
Travel and tourism have been the hardest hit by COVID-19 disruptions that have seen travelers cut down on tour activities. This saw the EAC Secretarial Council on Tourism and Wildlife Management meet and approve the EAC Regional COVID-19 Tourism Recovery Plan, which is set to drive the recovery of the tourism industry in the bloc from the adverse impact of COVID-19 pandemic.
We must appreciate that COVID came in a manner that no one was expecting.
Yes.
And therefore, level of preparedness, there was no much preparedness by any of the countries in the world. So when it came to East Africa, the first thing that happened, each partner state tried to devise their own methods of trying to save lives and also to save businesses.
The COVID-19 pandemic has whittled down the gains made by EAC partner states in the tourism sector. Even worse is the lack of standardized COVID-19 protocols, which is slowing the cross-border travel and trade.
How do we start now partnerships to ensure that we have a facility either situated in any of the partner states so that we can produce for our own people? So once that is done, we'll have enough for everyone.
Yes.
And maybe within a period of 6 months, it is possible everyone will have been vaccinated. So these are some of the thoughts we are thinking that to be more sustainable, we need to deal with that. Because if that is not done, the border points will still have a problem.
Yes.
There'll be a lot of different things happening in Namanga. Busia is different.
The EAC Secretary General, who has held meetings with leaders of the 6 partner states, says the application of the Democratic Republic of Congo to join EAC presents a win-win situation for the Central African country as well as the existing EAC member states. This includes an expanded market as well as manufacturing, value addition, and a large pool of skills in the East African community.
It means people from East Africa, from this part of East Africa, can go and invest in DRC in a market of 90 million and with vast, resources. That is a huge game changer for this community, and therefore that I see the DRC coming to EAC, it will be a game changer. I encourage that, of course, all the citizens and everyone supports this.
Yes.
Yeah, and this is an idea again that came from the heads of states in their wisdom, who felt it's important that we start now thinking of expanding this community.
Even as the EAC Secretariat says, the one-stop border posts across the bloc have helped drastically reduce duration taken for person and cargo to move across countries. Our experience at the Namanga one-stop border post was otherwise. We witnessed long queues and delays crossing between Kenya and Tanzania.
Hapa shida mara nyingi sana inakuwa foleni. Foleni inakuwa ni kubwa, lakini hatujui tatizo zaidi ni nini.
Unaweza pata umekaa siku 2, pengine unaangukia unakaa siku 1 hivyo. Shida iko Kenya kwa skana ya Kenya.
Maana hata kitambo kabla skana kuwekwa hapo ilikuwa jamu hakuna. Si ndio? Lakini toka hii jamu hii skana iletwe hapa ndio jamu ikawa hapa. Kwa hiyo mtu unaweza ukafika hapa ukajipata huko kwa jamu siku 3 mpaka 4.
So the challenge that is found in Namanga, it was a positive challenge in that from the last almost like 4 months to now, business has increased 6 times. Okay, movement of goods from one partner state to another, and that is a positive challenge. Now that tells us that we may have to find ways of expanding facilities within the border point.
Yes.
And what we quickly did was I sent my technical teams to the border, and they worked closely with revenue authorities both from Kenya and Tanzania. And one thing they did is that they developed a 24-hour operations.
We sought to find out what legacy he plans to leave.
A more integrated community.
Yes.
Okay. More integrated community that is meaningful and delivering for the people. We want to have a private sector becoming the true engine of economic integration. We want to see a more peaceful region. So the issue of peace and security is very important. Trying to intervene and see where to support, and that's a priority. And also to have a digitalized community, e-services.
An exclusive interview with the Secretary General after 100 days in the office, and we will continue to follow up stories on the EAC for you at the last Thursday of every month, bringing the community closer to you. Now to agriculture, where John Wambugu, a farmer in Narok County, is among the few who have unrelentingly grown cabbages despite harsh weather conditions in the area. Wambugu grows cabbages on his 15-acre piece of land and has incorporated irrigation to ensure production throughout the year. In this week's episode of Farmwise, we highlight cabbage production.
Narok is among counties classified as arid and semi-arid areas, highlighted by poor rains. However, John Wambugu, a farmer in Narok, has devised ways of steadily producing cabbages throughout the year after moving away from rain-fed agriculture.
Tumia machine, tunatoa maji kwa mto za diesel. Mimi nalima mbali na maji, kwa hivyo natumia lista, hizi mashini kubwa. Per day inatumia lita kama 20.
To ensure quality produce, he purchases high-quality seeds from the Kenya Agricultural and Livestock Research Organization centers to ensure his cabbages fetches more in the market.
Kuanzia kupanda mbegu tunaendea Naivasha. Hii ya kujimwagia inatusumbuaga sana. Tunanunua mbegu kutoka Naivasha. Tunauziwa 10,000 cents per acre. Tunanunua almost 20k per acre. Tunaweka mbolea, tunanyunyiza maji na tunapiga madawa.
Good crop husbandry has seen Wambugu making about 100,000 shillings per acre each season.
Mamia kuuza, ukiuza in average eka moja unauza 200k, kwa hivyo unaweza pata profit ya 100%.
However, he says he has had to contend with invasion of both domestic and wild animals that wander into his farm in search of pasture.
Hapa ni Masairad, wanafuga mang'ombe na mbuzi, so lazima uwe ngangari, lazima uwe na wafanyakazi wa kuangalia mashamba. Kwanza saa hii kuna kiangazi, utakuta hata zingine zimeachiliwa.
Even though recent travel restrictions and reduced capacity in restaurant had affected his business, Wambugu hopes for better returns with the easing of travel restrictions. He is calling for deployment of more extension services to ensure farmers produce high quality cabbages for local and export markets.
Nimefanya vitu mingi. Kwa hii kilimo nimenunua shamba, nimejenga, nimenunua gari na bado naendelea kufanya miradi.
Benson Joba reporting for Prime Edition.
Well, we'll take a short break, but after that, Kenya Airways announces its results, and also the popular Taxo 101 will be coming up. You do not want to miss it.
Acha nirudi. Ndachukua wokovu, niweke wokovu yangu chini na utajua ujui. Wewe ni mwizi.
Nini mzee?
Mimi ni kijana.
Ngoja uulize maswali. Sasa wewe ukijiita kijana sisi tutajiita nini? Mimi ni pipi ya ongeki. Si ndio hiyo sasa ananifananisha na mwanamke na mimi si mwanamke. Tatani yatindwe. Kechuta. Sema ukweli hii koti kuachilie. Enga mama. Ngoja, sikiza. Usi mzee, usi mama ni mheshimiwa. Enga mwambie sichukue sheria kwa mikono zake. Ala. Sichukue sheria kwa mikono zake.
Talking about animals, look ahead of buffalo.
This week on Zurura,
Hii kazi mimi leo ninafanya.
we take you on a journey from farm to shop. Rock climbing.
My toes feel like sardines.
We'll also get your adrenaline pumping with a rigorous activity.
You can get lost here easily, yeah?
You get to find out what conservancies actually do. Expand my mind. And yes, that's all coming right up on Zurura. Find your adventure.
The mighty will fall.
Driver! The members of Contra Unit! How have these guys not even been suspended or banned from MLW yet? After what they did to Ace Romero, after what they did, oh my God! Oh my God! Get some help out here! They just set the man on fire against the former champion! Oh no, no! Come on! No. Finishing blow! These guys they're all about violence. They say they're global gamers in violence.
Welcome back. Now, East Africa's community's goal of harmonizing domestic taxes continues to face headwinds as member states are yet to agree on uniform tax rates. EAC Cabinet Secretary Aidan Mohamed says elimination of anti-competitive taxes could be used to promote the region as a single investment destination.
Talks on harmonization of taxes was first mooted by the EAC Sectoral Council on Finance and Economic Affairs in May 2012 in Kampala, Uganda. The move paved a way for the regional finance ministers to meet and draft the EAC domestic tax harmonization policy that would give guidance on how the regional tax process should be carried out. However, failure by member states to agree on uniform tax rules and rates for the region has slowed down the process.
Barriers, my goodness, this is a long story. That one, you know, you've seen these games where you're trying to catch the rat. You keep banging them and they're not getting sorted. Double taxation, avoidance of double taxation, we need to address that on a SG in the Secretariat. And we must clarify everything that have to do with our customs, rules and regulations. Sanitary and phytosanitary protocols need to be cleaned up. We also need to address our rules of origin. That is creating huge challenges at the border and making sure that our trucks get to sit.
Challenges that we have seen is goods that are manufactured within EAC states sometimes are not as competitive as we would have liked them to be because of some of these existing domestic taxes, and it's one of the biggest challenges.
The EAC domestic tax harmonization policy proposed introduction of EAC-wide minimum excise rates by type of goods and services with regular adjustments and periodic realignment to take into account inflation and exchange rate movements. According to the policy, harmonization of tax rates within the East African community is expected to take a progressive approach starting from excise and VAT, followed by income tax at a later stage. On VAT, the policy proposes adoption of a single positive standard rate in each partner state subject to an EAC-wide minimum. For example, Kenya's standard VAT rate is 16%, while Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda and Burundi are at 18%. With regards to income tax, the policy proposes adoption of common rules for determining the tax base, introducing a minimum income tax rate for each category to prevent harmful tax competition. The process has been slow since some partner states are dissatisfied with the plan to harmonize VAT, income tax and excise duty, which are considered critical sources of revenue for member states. Experts say elimination of double taxation that has been cited as a major hindrance to fairness and investment will highly depend on commitment by partner states. Mohammed says elimination of non-tariff barriers and market distortions could undermine implementation of EAC Common Market Protocol and the EAC Monetary Union Protocol.
Monetary Union, which is one of the key pillars, also the third plank of our treaty, is at a very advanced stage. All the underlying rules and legislations have been passed and assented to by the heads of states. And we are at this stage looking where to house this monetary union, in which country, and that discussion is ongoing. And in not too distant future, the plan is to have one common central bank like you have in Europe, one currency, so that when you go from one country to the other, you don't have to worry about exchange rates and so on and so forth. That program is progressing very well, and we should be able to see that happening within the region.
Harmonization of taxes remain elusive as member states stick to their own rates. But according to some members of the EAC, harmonization of especially excise duty and VAT will achieve neutrality for investment and trade. Caroline Jenga for Prime Edition.
Well, from your feedback, Kadhoni is saying that she would like to see more on Tax 101 on the Jua Kali industry. We hear you loud and clear. Now, let's move on now to aviation, where Kenya Airways saw its net loss narrow 20% to 11.5 billion shillings during the first 6 months of this year. The airline's chairman, Michael Joseph, says the outlook remains uncertain despite the relative easing of travel restriction on increased COVID-19 vaccination globally.
The COVID-19 pandemic is expected to adversely impact on the travel industry for the next 2 to 3 years. During the first 6 months of this year, lower passenger demand saw the carrier's income dip 9% to 27.3 billion shillings, while operational costs reduced from 38.6 billion shillings to 34.6 billion shillings. The management remains upbeat amid uncertainties over the COVID-19 pandemic on account of global COVID-19 vaccination drives. Meanwhile, Kenya Airports Authority Managing Director Alex Gitari says the government is investing in expanding the domestic air travel in efforts to grow the aviation industry.
This year, for the same period, January to July 2021, the numbers have shot up to 286,000. In other words, they have surpassed the 7 months period before COVID. And that indeed is a reflection of the recovery of the domestic aviation sector.
Gitari says expansion of the domestic air travel is key in the recovery of the aviation industry from disruptions caused by the COVID-19 pandemic.
But because of COVID-19, the aviation industry was the hardest hit, as well as the tourism sector. We are happy that with this airline joining other 5 airlines to this region,
this is therefore a powerful statement that this lakeside city has indeed become the East Africa's regional business hub. And you just saw a small aircraft flying when we were starting here. That was Air Kenya, which goes from Mara to Kisumu to Entebbe and back that way.
Gitari said numbers at the Kisumu International Airport during the first 6 months of this year increased to 296,000 people, up from 270,000 passengers during a similar period in 2019. Regina Manyara reporting for Prime Edition.
Now back to the EAC, where initiatives between Kenya and Tanzania as well as Uganda have helped reduce barriers to trade. This is according to traders and manufacturers who say the visit by Tanzanian President Samia Suluhu Hassan in this May this year, as well as meetings between Kenya and the Ugandan trade officials, have boosted exports. The traders are, however, calling for more to boost trade, noting that some products from Kenya bearing KEB stickers are facing challenges accessing the Tanzanian market.
And manufacturers in recent years faced challenges selling products in Tanzania, but not today. This is according to traders who have seen improvement after Tanzanian President Samia Suluhu Hassan in May this year led a government and private sector official visit to Kenya that, among others, resolved more than 30 out of 60 outstanding issues that were inhibiting smooth movement of persons and goods between the two countries.
We have seen the goodwill from His Excellency the President Uhuru Kenyatta and Her Excellency Samia Suluhu Hassan on addressing of these issues. And when we started the conversations, there were probably about 60 non-tariff barriers between Kenya and Tanzania, but significantly these have been coming down, and the latest JCC has actually been able to address additional non-tariff barriers between our partner states.
Despite this, local traders say some products from Kenya bearing the Kenya Bureau of Standards KEB's mark do not receive uniform reception in Tanzania and are now calling for harmonization of standards to allow faster movement of goods between the two countries.
A failure to recognize standards, so you'll find a situation where we have a KEB standard issued. However, when you try and trade across the border, there are challenges around that.
There has been progress made as regards to trade between Kenya and Uganda too. In April this year, it was agreed that Ugandan sugar would account for 43% of total imports by Kenya from the common market of Eastern and Southern Africa, COMESA, after Nairobi and Kampala ironed out disputes that were affecting movement of goods between the two countries. Industrialization and Trade Cabinet Secretary Betty Maina and her Ugandan counterpart agreed that the neighboring state will be allowed to export 90,000 tons of the sweetener to Kenya as soon as the verification mission on country of origin was completed. However, a section of traders say Kenya may be favoring imports more than exports.
As much as we want to have local industries in different respective countries, coming up with their own products and being able to sell their products within that region, we should have very realistic tax policies which enhance and facilitate these traders.
The local traders say some barriers to trade are replicated in other East African Community member states and are calling for harmonization of trade policies and tax regimes.
And there's what we call the East African Common Tariffs. These are tariffs based on different commodities which come from different countries. And I think one of the biggest undoing of the East African community is coming up with tariffs which hurt some industries. You find that some tariffs are very punitive. They are not well researched. Public participation to make sure that these industries are able to remain afloat. And I can give an example with a tariff which was introduced some time back concerning footwear, which escalated, the income, the taxes, of a 40-foot container from 2 million to 6 million.
Currently, intra-EAC trade stands at about 15%, which is 4 times lower than trade among European Union member states. Alan Aoko, Prime Edition.
My name is Dorothy Lowakto and I'm a wildlife warrior. Working for elephants is the most special thing and very beautiful.
This is the first community-run elephant orphanage in Africa.
They will not make in life if they are not with their families. We get them and rehabilitate them instead of leaving them to suffer in the wild.
This is Wildlife Warriors, and I'm Paula Kahumbu.
Focus, you cabbage face. This kind of speech is for those who use their brains. You, on the other hand, could use water and soap.
Guys! Julia and Vala, I've eaten all the food. Now we are going to die in the jungle.
Will you keep your voice down?
I had no plan of going out like this, just so you know. And Julia, just know you are the worst planner in the history of planning.
What is your problem, Why can't you just enjoy the trip like the rest of us? We might have taken the wrong van. Whose van is this?
I'm feeling the music in the air.
Classmates, every Saturday on KBC.
The excitement of the Olympic Games doesn't just stop there, as the biggest para-sports event, the 2020 Paralympic Games, gets underway from the 24th of August to the 5th of September in Tokyo, Japan. So, get ready to be inspired by these sportsmen and women with outstanding abilities, and look out for Team Kenya too in their quest for glory by watching all the highlights daily on KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Well, good evening. I'm Richard Munga with the day's sports. Now, powerlifter Helen Wawira wound up fifth in the category at the opening Paralympic Games in Tokyo, Japan. Wawira, who participated in the 41 kgs category, says the result, which catapults her to among top 3 ranked weightlifters in the continent. She says her intention is to attempt the 100 kgs lift in the forthcoming competitions. Kenya is taking part in 3 disciplines at the 16th edition of the Para Games. That is powerlifting, athletics, and para rowing.
Helen Wawira Kariuki, the Kenyan lone powerlifter at this year's Paralympic Games here in Tokyo, Japan, did Kenya proud by finishing in the event, which saw Chinese powerlifter Guo Linklin smashing both the world and Paralympic records by lifting 108 kilograms. Wawira's first and second attempts of 90 and 93 kilograms respectively were all cleared as good lifts, while the third and last attempt of 95 kilograms was overruled as no lift due to lack of press sequencing. An elated Wawira, who was the only powerlifter in this category from Africa, was happy with her debut in the Paralympic Games.
Although nilikuwa nimetarget 100 kg, naweza sema nimefanya my level best cause tuseme the last 2 days sijakuwa nikikula vizuri, nakula chakula alafu nasikia vibaya, lakini nashukuru Mungu nimeweza kuinua hiyo good lift. Kwa powerlifting kupata hiyo good lift si mchezo.
Wawira's coach David Waore, a former powerlifter, posited that the performance was good but promised to reload moving forward.
Kitoka hapa tunarudi back to drawing board. Ni kutrain ili ya first attempt yake ikuwe hiyo 100. Second attempt yake maybe ikuwe 105. Third attempt ikuwe 110. Avunje rekodi.
Kenya's Chief Administrative Secretary for Sports, Honorable Simon Kachapin, who is leading the Kenyan delegation here in Tokyo, said that the government is committed to ensuring that all sportsmen and women are fully supported.
Tunapozungumza sasa hivi tunaanza kufikiria Olympics ijayo. Na tukiwa hapa tuko tunaitafuta vifaa yale mazuri zaidi. Vile tuko hivi na tutaenda na vifaa zingine, wameweka budget tayari kwa vifaa ambayo itatumika katika Paralympics ambayo itakuja. Kwa sababu tumeona ni mambo ya tunasema technicality.
Tomorrow the athletics program spikes off with Wilson B and Captain Rogers rope rearing to go in the 5,000 meters T11 final in the morning. Power rower Asia Mohammed too will be at the Sea Forest Waterway course participating in the women's single sculls event.
Reporting for KBC Sports from Tokyo International Forum, Japan, I am Elina Shiveka.
Now on to other matters, whereby a determined Kenya MORANS marked their return to the FIBA Afro-Basket Championship with an 88-70 loss to 5-time champions Ivory Coast in their Group C opener at the Kigali Arena, that is in Rwanda. MORANS will be back to the court tomorrow, hopeful of redemption, when they take on Nigeria, who are 81-73 winners over Mali in the other Group C match. MORANS were making a return to the top African men's basketball competition after 28 years, and despite giving a good account of themselves, Ivory Coast outscored them 26-24 in the first quarter.
Monte bounce pass, yeah, covered his finger on that play. Ongwai for 3, big start for him, Tyler Ongwai. Wamakota goes in and throws. There's Ongwai reaching in, coming up, terrific defensive play, saves it inbounds. Here comes the MORANS. Ongwai again for 3.
However, MORANS' resilience saw them take the second set 21-15.
And I was like, Tyler Ongwai with the turnaround on the baseline. Konate drives out, he gets to
5-time champions Ivory Coast showed their experience in the last 2 quarters to outpoint MORANS 21-15 and 28-16. Mark Costello led the victors with 22 points, while Danish-based Tyler Ongwai's 25 points for MORANS saw him end the match as the top scorer, but it was not enough to prevent the loss. Earlier, Nigeria began their campaign on a bright note when they beat Mali 81-73 in the other group group match. Kenya faced Nigeria in their second match on Friday at the Kigali Arena. A win against the Nigerians would revive Kenya's hopes of cruising past the group stage, going to the last group match on Sunday against Mali. MORANS head coach Liz Mills wrote history as the first ever woman head coach in the history of FIBA Afrobasket. All the best to the Kenya MORANS as they take on Nigeria in the second match tomorrow before taking on Mali in their final Group C match that will be on Sunday. And KBC Sports will be keeping you up to date, so stay tuned to our subsequent bulletins. Now, meanwhile, Harambee Stars players reported to camp ahead of the Crunch 2022 World Cup qualifier against Uganda on September 2nd at the Nyayo National Stadium. Local-based players were among those who reported to camp, with foreign-based players expected to link up with the rest of the squad days to the clash. After the Uganda clash, Kenya will also face Rwanda 2 days later in Kigali. Harambee Stars bidding to qualify for their first ever World Cup finals is pulled in Group E alongside Mali, Rwanda and Uganda. The group winners across the 10 groups will be divided into 2 groups and shall face each other in home and away fixtures, with 5 winners guaranteeing themselves a spot at the 2022 finals in Qatar.
And wajaliwa, maybe you can get hiyo form yenye nimekuwa nayo naweza iweka kwa national team sasa.
It's just a matter of staying focused, doing the basics right, and being positive, and also looking forward to learn from my teammates, to learn also from the technical bench. Yes.
Now, that's all the time we have for sports today, but just a quick update. Finally, 8 groups, that's 2 teams. I'm talking about none other than the 2021-2022 Champions League draw. That is the group stage, whereby I'll just mention 4 groups, really. English Premier League champions Manchester City have been pulled in Group A alongside Paris Saint-Germain, RB Leipzig and Club Brugge, of course, of Belgium. And in Group B, we have Spanish champions Atletico Madrid taking on Liverpool, Porto and AC Milan. While in Group F, Villarreal, United, Atalanta and Young Boys. And finally in Group H, we have Chelsea, Juventus, Zenit St. Petersburg, as well as Malmo. Well, that's all the time we had for sport tonight. I'll be handing you over back to Cynthia Nyamai. Have a lovely night.
Well, thank you very much, Munga, for the sports news. I was looking forward to hear more about the Kenyan team, Moran. And we have feedback that I just want to read. It's from Wamboi, who says that she is watching all the way in Nyeri. Well, that's it from the news desk for tonight. From me and the rest of the team right here in studio, we wish you a good night.